How can we do functional programming in Python? Functional programming is a programming paradigm that emphasizes the use of function to write clean and concise code. Python is a multi-paradigm language that supports functional programming along with object-oriented programming and procedural programming. Here are some ways to do functional programming in Python. First, Lambda function. Python support Lambda functions, which are small anonymous functions that can be used to perform operations on data. They are commonly used with higher order functions like map, filter, and reduce. Higher order functions. Python support higher order functions, which are functions that takes another function as an input or return function as an output. Example include map, filter, reduce, and sorted function. Immutable data types. Python support immutable data types like tuples, frozensets, which are useful in functional programming. List comprehension. List comprehension are a concise way of creating a list in Python. They are similar to map function but allow for more complex operations. Generators. Generators are functions that return an iterator object which can be used to iterate over a sequence of values. They are often used in functional programming to generate sequence of values on the fly. Recursion. Python supports recursion, which is a technique where a function calls itself. Recursion is often used in functional programming to solve problems in concise and elegant way. Here are some examples of functional programming in Python. Using Lambda function. Lambda function can be used to define small functions that can be used as an argument to another function. For example, the map and filter function can be used with the lambda function to perform operations on list. So we have defined my list containing 5 integers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we are using map function. Inside the map function we have lambda function which takes each element and square it from my list. So the resultant value of this map function is again converted into a list using this list constructor and stored in squared list variable. When we print the squared list variable, every element of my list is squared and printed on the user screen. Therefore, the output 1491625. Use the filter function to create a new list that contains only even number from the original list. So we are applying filter function. Inside the filter function, we have an anonymous function, lambda function, which is for every element in X, it is dividing it by 0. If it is equal, if the result of this division, remainder of the division, is equivalent to 0 by modulo operator, then we are taking that element and storing the result will be all those elements which are satisfying this condition. Then we are converting it into a list and storing it in even list variable. So for all those elements inside the my list where this condition is satisfied are stored in even list variable and we are printing even list on the user screen. So 2 is divisible by 2, remainder is 0, 4 is divisible by 2, remainder is 0, therefore 4 will be the output for the input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click on the cell, run the cell, you get the output 2, 4. We have seen an example of map using lambda function, filter using lambda function. We will also see the example of reduce using lambda function later. Using list comprehension. List comprehension is a concise way to create a list in Python. It is based on the concept of self-builder notation in mathematics. For example, the following code creates a list of square of numbers from 1 to 10 using list comprehension. So in this square bracket we are using list comprehension for every x in range 1 to 11, 1 included, 11 excluded. What we are doing? We are doing x square. So result of this will be every element from 1 to 10 will be squared and stored in a square variable. When you print the square variable, you can see squares from 1 to 10. Here in x range, you have start value. End value is the last index minus 1. If the step size is not specified, by default step size is considered to be 1. Therefore 1 square, 2 square, 3 square up till 10 square. Next, using functional libraries, Python provides several functional libraries such as func tool and iter tool that can be used to perform common functional programming tasks. For example, the reduce function in func tools can be used to reduce a list to a single value using a specified notation. So from func tool library, we are importing the reduce function. We are applying reduce function. Inside the reduce function, we have anonymous lambda function which takes two argument xy, compute x into y from my list variable, and this operation is repeated until and unless we have a single value because we are using reduce function. So when the my list is exhausted, multiplication of a consecutive element reduced to a single value will be stored in product, and we print the product on the user's screen. The output is 120. So we have seen example of map, filter and reduce. Using recursion. Recursion is a common technique used in functional programming. It involves defining a function in terms of itself. For example, the following code uses recursion to calculate the factorial of a number. So we are defining a function factorial which takes one argument. If the value of the argument is 0, we are returning 1. Else, we are returning the argument multiplied by again calling the same factorial function by reducing the original argument by 1. This process is repeated. So this is the factorial function. When it will terminate, when the value of a argument reaches 0, it will return 1, and simultaneously it will trace back to the original computation and return the result. So when you print the factorial of 5, it turns out to be 120. Here factorial function was called itself from inside its body, therefore it is called as recursion. Overall, Python provides a lot of tools and features that makes it easy to write functional code. That's it for this video. Thank you. Thanks for watching.